Now that Anfernee Simons is sticking around for a while, let's figure this out. Who starts? What's the bench rotation? Who finishes games? It's right now on the Locked On Celtics podcast.
Beantown, be ever ready. It's the C's. Who else could it be? What they gon' say now? Screaming like JT, Karalis. We kept the madness every game, every practice. Primetime Depp and D White on the sideline. Raining J's, how it started, raising banners, how we finished. Locked on Celtics pod, home of the winners.
Hey there, welcome back to the Locked On Celtics podcast, right here on the Locked On Podcast Network, where it's your team every day. Your team's the Boston Celtics, and I talk about them Monday through Friday. It's free. It's available everywhere. It's on YouTube. Watch the podcast. Get into the comment section. Share your thoughts with your fellow Celtics fans, your everydayers who are with me every day, 5 days a week. During the regular season, during the playoffs, I'm going to say playoffs, sure. Whenever they play on the weekends, bonus podcasts then. So make sure you are subscribed. I'm John Karalis, beat writer for Boston Sports Journal. I've been covering the Celtics for about 20 years now. I've written a couple books about the team, so I just really enjoy talking about the Celtics. And today, I'll be talking about the rotation. Let's figure this out together. Who starts? Who finishes? What do we get in the middle? We'll get to the finishing part in the third segment. We'll figure out the bench rotations in the second segment. But let's get into the potential starting lineups. I feel like my starting lineup has my belief in this is starting to, waver a little bit. My starting lineup has been Derrick White, Anfernee Simons, Jaylen Brown, Chris Boucher, Neemias Queta. That's my starting five for now. I'm not saying there aren't arguments for other people, but here's my argument right away for what this is. First of all, you got the perimeter players, White, Simons, and Jaylen. Obviously, Jaylen Brown is the number one option. Anfernee Simons is a really good, we could say he's the second option, and Derrick White can be the third option. Either way, however you want to say, Derrick White's second and Simons is third. Either way, it doesn't matter. We know that Jaylen's going to get the lion's share, and that's going to, I think, open things up where Simons and Derrick White are going to have room to play. I like that little rotation on the perimeter. I like how it lines up the rotations behind it. And I think the double big lineup defensively, having a couple of shot blockers there, Queta, obviously, with the, he's 7 feet tall. He can block some shots. He's coming off a good EuroLeague. I'm penciling him as a starter. I don't think you can really make a stronger argument for anybody else at this point, but I like Boucher at the 4. I think he's a more natural 4. I think he can hit some shots, so you have to pay attention to him in the corners so he can space the floor. It's not like he's Sam Hauser, and so that I think opens up for some debate, but I think Boucher is a guy that you have to at least pay attention to. So that's enough. It's enough space, and he would need to hit some shots, but offensively it's enough space. There's going to be a guy on the floor that can't space, and so whether it's Queta or I don't know, they're going to have to play Garza can space some, but it's not in the same way. They're not going to have the same kind of 5-out capability. So that's fine. You play Nemi in the dunker spot or in the pick and roll, or setting screens on the perimeter. I think that's fine. He can put that vertical pressure on. He can go get a lob. So I like right off the bat, I think Jaylen's talent, Simons' talent, Derrick White's talent. That's a good perimeter. You get some decent shooting out of Boucher, and Queta can roll and operate in some of that space. And defensively, I think that protects you pretty nicely. I also like, as I've said on this podcast before, I like Peyton Pritchard off the bench, not because he doesn't deserve to start. He does deserve to start. And if Joe Mazzulla says I'm rewarding Peyton Pritchard, then I'm not going to argue that. I'm not married to this starting lineup. And I just did a podcast with Chris Forsberg for NBC Sports Boston, where we went over this. If we see a starting lineup of Derrick White, Peyton Pritchard, Jaylen Brown, Sam Hauser, and Neemias Queta, totally fine with that. I think you can make the argument that those guys have earned it. I think you get some ball handling. You move Derrick White off the ball. You now have a rotation where Simons is coming off the bench and can get some buckets off the bench for you. I don't like that starting lineup necessarily. I think it takes some of the scoring punch away, but I can see the argument. So in my starting lineup, I don't have Peyton Pritchard. It's just because I like the rotation of Peyton coming in for Derrick White, first TV timeout. Peyton at the next TV timeout comes in for Jaylen Brown. Then White and Brown are kind of like staggering with one another. Simons is there to carry some of the scoring load, take pressure off of Jaylen Brown. I think why I like Simons so much as a starter is that it prevents the defense from doubling Jaylen Brown. And I think that's a big deal. As much as I want to see how Jaylen does with drawing a double team, if they do throw a lot of double teams at him, drawing the double team, we like to talk about accepting the double team and drawing them away from the 3-point line and then kicking it to a teammate for a 4-on-3. I think that's a very valuable ability for Jaylen Brown. I saw him do it last year better than he's ever done it. If he can continue to do it well, then that's going to be a very important element to the Celtics offense. And if he does it enough, then teams are not going to be able to double team him, and that will allow him a lot more one-on-one time. So I like Simons to be on the floor with Jaylen. So Simons now, I think, makes it even less likely to double team. So what are you going to do? Are you going to play 4-on-3 with Simons and Derrick White? Like, that's if two of your guys are Simons and Derrick White against your three defenders, you're giving up a bucket because they demand attention, and they're going to demand so much attention that makes Neemias Queta better. That makes Chris Boucher better because those two guys are still really good offensive options. Simons in that scenario is an elite offensive option. So I like Simons there to take the pressure off of Jaylen. So that's why that's my starting lineup. But like I said, if you want to start Pritchard and move White off the ball, so he's a little bit more of a catch and shoot guy than an off the dribble guy, I like that too. Derrick White's catch and shoot numbers are really good. That puts Simons, I think, in a position where he can be that second unit's primary scorer. If that's the case, then Simons is going to win Sixth Man of the Year. I really think like a Celtic is going to win Sixth Man of the Year. Is it Pritchard or is it Simons? Or do they alternate and eliminate each other and maybe a Celtic doesn't win Sixth Man of the Year? I don't know how this is going to go. Whatever the starting lineup is on opening night, it might change based on matchups. It may change based on just performance and lineup. Certain things that you think are going to happen don't actually materialize. Like I can in my head have this concept of A, B, C, D, and then the reality is for whatever reason, well, A happened, B never really kind of materialized, C was completely wrong, and we never got to D. And so you got to change the lineup. But my starting lineup, I like that group. But I can see the value in let's get Sam Hauser out there with some more shooting to open up that space. You put Hauser and Pritchard on there, that's a lot of shooting. Pritchard, Hauser, and Derrick White, tons and tons of space. And that just allows you to run middle pick and roll with Queta and Jaylen Brown And that also, I think, has a lot of value. So completely open to that starting lineup as well, or some variation. Maybe it's Pritchard and Boucher instead of Hauser. And I still think a double big defensive lineup is going to be Boston's best option, because either Simons or Pritchard, or even just by the nature of the NBA, guys are going to get beat no matter what defensive lineup you put out there. So having a couple of guys back there that are deterrents to some degree will be important if the Celtics are trying to win these games. So that's my starting lineup. What about the bench rotation? How deep can the Celtics go? Do they have a lot of depth? Could they Indiana Pacers this thing? We'll talk about that when we come back. Today's show is brought to you by Monarch Money. I bet you have a few different accounts, whether it's an investment account or, a 401k, or maybe some properties or something. Can you name them all? Probably not. Most people can't. So you need to have your full picture in one place. That's where Monarch Money comes in. You've got a busy life. Organizing your finances is tough. You don't want to be dealing with a spreadsheet. Monarch does the heavy lifting. You link all of your accounts in minutes. You can see clear data visuals, get smart categorization of your spending, and finally feel in control of your money. The categorization of your spending is huge because it tells you can see it right away. Oh man, I'm spending this much money on eating out, entertainment, sports related things, tickets, whatever it is, whatever you're spending your money on. If you want to, what you can afford in certain things, Monarch Money is going to help give you a little bit of guidance. You can also work your partner's finances into this so you have a full, complete picture. Just don't let a financial opportunity slip through the cracks. Use the code LOCKEDONNBA at monarchmoney.com in your browser for half off your first year. That's 50% off your first year at monarchmoney.com with the code LOCKEDONNBA. Thank you for making Locked On Celtics your first listen every day. Go check out Locked On NBA, Locked On NBA Game Night. Little shuffling. So I'm going to be on the Friday show this week, and then Jake Madison and I are going to be moving to Wednesdays. Either way, subscribe to Locked On NBA, Locked On NBA Game Night. Game Night during the season is going to be covering all the games that night. So get me and Jake the Tuesday night games for the Wednesday podcast, or the daily Locked On NBA afternoon show covering all the big stories in the league. It's all there, the same place you found Locked On Celtics. How deep can the Celtics go on their bench? So either way, in any of these scenarios, Peyton Pritchard, Sam Hauser, Chris Boucher, and Anfernee Simons. Those guys I've named now 7 players in addition to, right? So there's 4, and then that's in addition to Queta, Jaylen Brown, Derrick White. So Queta, Brown, White, those I believe are cemented starters. Derrick White, Jaylen Brown, Neemias Queta, cemented starters for the Celtics. Book it. The other 4 guys, some combination of those 4. And it may depend on, hey, we're playing this team this night, we're going to go double big. We're playing this team this night, we're going to go single big. We're going to go shooting. It might just shift, alter, however. Then how deep do you go? Who else is in this rotation? I think you have the potential. I'd like Baylor Scheierman as one of the rotation pieces. I think when we talk about young guys making a leap, I think Scheierman is a strong candidate because now he's going into his second season and he's going to get those opportunities. We know he can shoot a little bit there. That needs to be more consistent. He can really, really pass the ball. He's got a ton of confidence. He's got the size. He is 6'6". So he's big. He's got that NBA size. So he's got that desire. I think that's going to be a player that the Celtics really lean on, and I think he can have a really good season off the bench. So now we're at 8. Josh Minott, Luka Garza. Those guys are going to get opportunities. Garza, obviously, not a big defensive piece for the Celtics. He's going to have to improve that. But offensively, he can put up some points. Celtics are going to need some scoring off the bench, and they're going to need some size somehow. So Garza, we're at what's that? 8. Minott, a 6'8" forward, has the potential to be, I think, a high energy guy. Really, look, these are guys who are in tough spots, right? Like, this is a massively important season for Minott, for Garza, for Queta. These guys are going to be focused and really, really trying to play hard and really, really trying to execute their roles, whatever those roles end up being on a team. So now I can see Minott really being a high energy guy that can get in there and can defend and can do a lot of different things. And he doesn't want to go play overseas. He doesn't want to, as much as I advocate for, like, hey, Barcelona's nice this time of year. These are guys who are trying to cling to their NBA spots. So Minott and Garza are going to get their chances. So we're at 9 deep. And we still haven't talked about Xavier Tillman, who I brought up. I wrote about it on Boston Sports Journal. He has the potential to be an X factor, no pun intended. He has the potential to be an X factor. We're at 10 deep here. He's a power forward that obviously his shot needs to fall, and obviously he needs to be healthy. But if his knee can be right, he is proven NBA material, and he's still in his prime. I know he looks like he's in his 30s, but he's 26, 27 years old. So he has the potential to be a 10th guy. Jordan Walsh, we're getting deep into this rotation. I don't know how deep this is going to go for the Celtics, but Walsh and I think Tillman are going to be right on the edge, those outside spots. I think Garza and Minott are going to get the spots ahead of them, just because at least at the beginning of the season, the Celtics need to know what they have with these guys, and they need to prove something. And Walsh can go to Maine if he needs to. Tillman, I don't know what's going to happen with Tillman, but the Celtics need to figure out Minott and Garza especially, and maybe Minott more than anybody, because all of a sudden this kind of like high energy bench wing, there's a real need for a guy like that can come in at whatever time and just be like, hey, you know what? I'm going to fly around. I'm going to be the Aaron Nesmith type without, trying to like hurt himself, but a guy that can come in, fly around, defend, and do all that stuff. Like, Minott has the potential to play like really desperate, high energy basketball and be a factor off the bench. So the Celtics can go 10 deep. Let's just say my starting lineup is the one, and Simons comes in and Hauser comes in. That's some scoring off the bench. You can bring in Minott, Garza. I don't know if you want to go like that full bench lineup, but you can do a full bench lineup actually. Simons, Hauser, Scheierman, Garza, Minott. That's if you want to go five bench guys. I've seen worse, and that's at least as bad as, or I don't know if that's the way I want to phrase it, but Anfernee Simons has dealt with lineups like this in Portland. And having Hauser and Scheierman with Minott and Garza, look, Hauser can shoot, Scheierman can shoot, Simons can shoot. You got shooting over the place. Garza can score. Minott, he's not a nothing out there. You could sell me on some full bench lineups with those guys just to see. It's an evaluation year. And then if you want to put Tillman and Jordan Walsh in situationally, I think that's certainly a possibility. So the Celtics bench rotation, the depth, look, in a best case scenario, you can look at this and say some kind of, if you squint, Pacers-y vibes of, obviously Jaylen is going to be the only true superstar on this team, all NBA guy. Simons isn't far off. Simons is actually, if he can defend, Simons can surprise people and be, I'm not saying he's an all NBA guy, but Simons can be good. He's a tremendous offensive player. So I think with Jaylen, Simons, Derrick White, Peyton Pritchard, that's some really good, there's some really good pieces. The depth is actually kind of there. I don't know. I'm maybe it's the September, maybe it's the I've gotten, I haven't had much to talk about, and so we're going into full speculation before camp starts, and you start to talk yourself into certain things. I'm just saying depth could be a strength. Like individually, you might look at these guys and say, okay, yeah, okay. He's all right. He's all right. But if they can figure something out collectively, this actually might not be so bad. Maybe I've been like looking at this, a little too. I don't want to overreact. I'm going to stop myself. I'm not coming off of my middle of the road team just yet, but I'm saying that I am open to revising that because this depth could actually be a strength for the Celtics this year. Okay, so you got all these pieces, and maybe they work together, maybe they don't. We'll see. Who finishes games? We'll talk about that when we come back. Today's show is brought to you by Open Phone. If you've got a business, you know that every missed call is money left on the table. I can tell you from personal experience. I had a plumbing issue in my house a couple of weeks ago. I called 3 different places and got no answer. The 4th place got my business. So they weren't there. They didn't answer my calls. The 4th place got my business. And I got to tell you, it was a good chunk of money because I had a problem. And so the other companies could have used Open Phone because it would have helped. Open Phone is the #1 business phone system. It's built to streamline and scale your customer communications, all from an app on your phone or your computer. Open Phone lets you manage business calls and texts from a single app. They have a shared inbox feature, which is a game changer because your team can jump into any conversation instantly without missing a beat. And they have an AI agent for after-hours calls that answers common questions, captures leads, so you never miss a customer. Open Phone is offering you 20% off your first 6 months at openphone.com/LockedOnNBA. That's OPENPHONE.com/LockedOnNBA. If you have an existing phone number with another service, Open Phone will port all of them over at no extra charge. Open Phone, no missed calls, no missed customers. Thank you for making Locked On Celtics your first listen every day. Hey, a reminder that we do Mailbag Mondays, and mailbag questions go to johnkaralis.com/mailbag. johnkaralis.com/mailbag. Submit your questions. I will be answering questions still on Mondays as the preseason comes around. It goes a little bit more infrequently as the season starts to roll up. But I always want to answer your questions. So johnkaralis.com/mailbag for those. Okay. Who finishes games? This is going to be the most important thing, I think, for the Celtics. And again, it's going to be situational. So I think we can count on obviously Jaylen, Derrick White. I think Neemias Queta is probably going to be in the finishing lineups, but it might depend, right? I think you might have a bunch of different finishing lineups that depend on the situation. Celtics down 10 coming out of the last TV timeout versus the Celtics up 10 coming out of the last TV timeout. It's 2 different animals, right? You have time to score, but not that much time to score. So you want more offense on the floor versus you want to be able to score to hold off the other team. As I've always said, fourth quarter is about getting buckets. And the best way to prevent the team from coming back is just scoring baskets. If you score, the other team can't catch up. So you're going to need some scoring, but you want to be able to stop the other team too. You don't want to just be trading baskets. You want to be able to get some stops. So Jaylen and Derrick, obviously. You're going to need a big out there, so I'm going to say Queta is going to get it more often than not. But if you need offense with some of that defense in there, Boucher as your 5 is one of the options. So I think that's going to be your more down 10 lineup. Boucher is probably going to be the 5. And you're going to throw out, I think, Boucher, Simons, Jaylen, Pritchard, and Derrick White. It's a small lineup, but that's going to be a high-powered offense. You're going to get a lot of points that way, and you just have to lock in defensively. So it's going to be tough. You got to be high energy and force hopefully a miss or two somewhere in there, but you need that scoring, that you need that shooting, you need 3-point threats all over the place. That to me is your down 10 finishing lineup. Your up 10 finishing lineup could be a little bit different. So still Jaylen, still Derrick, probably Queta, because just a little bit more rebounding and you want a little bit more of a shot blocker. The only hesitation I have is the fouls, and you don't want him, they'll put him in pick and rolls. You want to make sure he's not in a tough situation. So I'm going to reserve the right to say maybe Boucher is just your finishing big no matter what, but I'm going to give Queta the benefit of the doubt. Maybe I'm going to say he's made some progress. I'm going to say he's made progress in EuroLeague. I'm going to say you're up 10. You need the defense. You need to get the stops, but you still need to find ways to score. Queta can be your center. You can run your pick and roll. Maybe you just don't, maybe you have Queta just off in the dunker spot and you run your pick and roll with Derrick White, Anfernee Simons, one of those guys. So, and then you want a defender. So I'm not sure who the last wing defender. So I'm just going to say maybe Simons is a fixture in the finishing line. I think maybe Simons just joins that finishing lineup no matter what, but it depends on his ability to defend. If he doesn't get any of the defensive concepts, if he just remains bad, then you're going to need somebody out there that understands and can defend. Is this where you go Minott? Or do you go Jordan Walsh? Big, rangy wings? Or do you do both? Do you put a defensive line? Is your best defensive lineup Derrick White, Jaylen Brown, Josh Minott, Jordan Walsh, and Neemias Queta? Up 10, 2 minutes to go. Is that the group? You're sacrificing a bunch of offense there. You are banking on your defense. Maybe that's not your final 2 minutes lineup, but maybe it's the up 6 with 40 seconds to go and you need a couple of stops and you're going to get to the foul line. Maybe that's the group that's in there. I can see that. I can totally see that. Jordan Walsh is such a wild card to me because I think he could finish this season not on the team or part of your finishing defensive lineup. It could go either way with him. I'm not sure where it's going to go, but your best defensive lineup, I'm just looking at this. It may be, that might be it. And depending on how big maybe you go double big, depending on the group, and you put Boucher in there with either Minott or Walsh. Again, they're both about the same size. You can get a lot of good defensive use out of those guys. If Simons is unplayable defensively down the stretch, which he may not be, I don't know, then you might have to tap into some funky lineups at the end. Whether you go double big or single big, it depends on what the other team is putting out there, but it might get weird. It might get weird down the stretch. And the Celtics, look, they might throw some lineups out there, especially early on, just to see. Let's just see. Maybe that Jordan Walsh, Josh Minott combination is just hey, we're going to finish with that in, October, November against certain teams just to see. And look, I don't think we should be worried necessarily about the final wins and losses tally. If the Celtics win 41 games, so be it. If they win 51 games, hey, great, but also so be it. If they win 31 games, so be it. I don't care. I'm not really looking at this season as how many games are they going to win and all. I still think they're going to be a playoff team. I hope they're not a play-in team. Either way, I want them to miss the play-in. Either you're teetering on the edge and you just forget it and don't bother, or you're teetering on the edge at the top end and it's like, go on a little bit of a run and get out of it. But either way, I don't want them in the play-in. It can get funky. So we'll see. We will revisit. Again, a month from now, preseason will be over and we'll have a better idea of what some of the lineups Joe Mazzulla has thrown out there. For now, get into the comments section on the YouTube page. Let me know what you think. What's your starting five? What's your bench rotation? Am I missing somebody? Am I overlooking somebody? Am I overrating somebody? Let me know in the comments section. Share your thoughts there. And then please share the podcast and tell everybody they should be listening to and watching the Locked On Celtics podcast. Here on the Locked On Podcast Network, it's your team every day.